Alright, we are finally taking on Nightman, which is actually a secret level, a secret hidden boss, which you can access from Toad Man, Magnet Man, and Tornado Man stage. So I've teased you with this level several times, but it's finally time to get right into it. And out of all the Robot Master levels, this is actually, I think, the funnest, most challenging, and well-designed levels of the game, which is a shame because it's a hidden level. So, given that, this is actually pretty fun compared to Pharaoh Man stage, Stone Man, and, you know, just a few of the other stages I've mentioned before that I think are also fun. This, I think, takes the cake because it takes all the robots, well, a good majority of them from previous levels, and kind of mix-mashes them together into one brutal gauntlet. And speaking of gauntlet, there are no midpoints. I think there is one midpoint right before the boss, but basically between the start of the level and the end of it, if you die at any point in the middle, you're just gonna have to start right back from the start, and that's actually can be quite brutal, like completely, especially if you're right near the end, which actually is not very easy in and of itself, and you die. It's a hard blow to take. Now we get to this little interesting section. It's got a couple quirks to it that make it different than its iteration in Mega Man 6. For example, you now have to deal with multiple enemies at a time, not just one type of enemy. And various, you know, platforming that you have to deal with, along with the spike ceiling. So this can be kind of a nerve-wracking area. And just to add insult to injury, there is a upgrade here you can find that you can only get with the Tornado Blow. Yeah, very tricky that. You need the Tornado Blow as the spikes are falling, and then raising to get enough loft to actually jump into that little alcove there of spikes to get that E-tank. Very tricky, but doable, as you can see. So the level hasn't really shown its full teeth yet. It's actually kind of tame as far as I'm concerned at the moment. But it'll get trickier, much trickier. It's basically just kind of wearing you down. If you're not used to the level, you're going to get hurt a lot. By the time you reach the last section, which is the Brutal Gauntlet I like to call it, you're not going to have much to work with at all. And at this point, you know, since I've demonstrated a lot of the Mega Buster attacks and getting through the level without weapons, I'm just going to go full bore and just kind of use the weapons as I need to get through most parts of this stage. Now we get to these little springs. They don't work at all like they did in Mega Man 6. You can't change the height of your jump at all. So it's just one standard jump height as you get bounced up into the air. So don't even try to vary your jump heights, it's not going to happen. Now you carefully jump over that and get up to the ladder. There's actually a special passage down below, which you would not know unless you missed that jump. Now we get some interesting jumps here, coupled with some annoying enemies that could easily knock you off into the spikes. And the Apache Joes are nobody's friend, so Tornado Blow will get rid of them easily. So all in all, the stage actually isn't too long. And just a proof of concept, these Power Maslers are pretty much weak to the Rain Flesh. One strike will just kill them outright. And this is what I'm calling the Brutal Gauntlet section right here. You have to deal with 2 Power Maslers, a Mech Walker, and quite a few enemies over some daring spike jumps. And look at that! There's a passage down below that you cannot access right now without Nightman's weapon. So you have to beat Nightman before you have to go through the entire stage again just to get back to that point to open up that alternate path. But now's the time for the ultimate boss, Nightman. And like his Mega Man 6 incarnation, he has full frontal immunity as long as his shield is up. So you're going to have to hit him from behind, or in the middle of a jump, or in the middle of an attack. That's just, there's no two ways about it. Now he does have 3 weaknesses, which I'll put on the weakness card. But each of those weaknesses are not very effective. Most weaknesses of bosses usually do about 5 to 6 points of damage. Most of these weaknesses at most do about 3 to 4. So you're probably going to be using up a good chunk of your weapon energy just to kill him with his weakness. So don't expect them to be the end-all be-all to his existence if you use him. Now for his tactic, he'll jump 3 times in a row before he chooses on an attack. One attack could be throwing a mace out to you, another attack could be jumping quick twice, throwing a mace in your direction, and then a third attack could be swinging his mace back and forth. And then of course, as he gets halfway down, he'll actually go to one side or the other and throw a whole bunch of maces across the entire room. But he will not do any of those attacks without first jumping 3 times in a row. So if you can realize that and prepare for it, then he's not that bad of a boss at all. You just have to hit him from behind, which can be quite annoying. And I think that's a bug right there. So yeah, all in all, not a too hard boss to beat with your Imbuster. Now, what do you get? You get the awesome Night Crush, which is pretty much the weakness to every single boss in the game. Now, it won't do 5 or 6 damage like most other weapons do, but it'll do at least a good respectable 3 damage, maybe 4 damage for every boss, and almost every enemy is weak to the Night Crush, and he uses very little ammo to boot. Clearly the ultimate weapon in this game. So that's pretty much it. You can get him from Toad Man stage, Tornado Man stage, and Magnet Man stage. He's pink, so he's all cleared off. Now, what if you were to hit your head and jump down here? Well, here's an alternate path. It's kind of a trickier, even worse path than going topside, but the end payoff is worth it. You gotta jump lightly here. That was probably the hardest jump of this whole section. This is the next hardest. So very, very tricky platforming, but you get 2,000 points for it, which might shoot you up to get an extra life, like I just did. Now for the alternate route, the major alternate route of this level. You're going to have to access it initially with the Spark Shock, and then continue on with Magma Bazooka. So you're going to require a few items just to get through this area. A few Robot Master weapons just to get through it. I really like the fact that these weapons are so useful. Most of these weapons kill most of the enemies in like 1 to 2 hits, so it's almost worth the effort to go through levels utilizing these weapons. They're just so gosh darn useful. Okay, to get this, you're going to have to tornado blow yourself up. Man, Star Crash is so awesome. It is really a great, great weapon. Just a couple nondescript rooms here. And here's where the jump you gotta be careful of. You want to hang far left as soon as you get over here. And if you have to, tornado blow your way over to make sure you get into that alcove. Because now you gotta do the Power Stone to hit the block. And either the Rush Jet, or if you're really good on your jumping, the Yamato Spear can get you up there. Go to this side passage, and this will get you the final and third piece of the M-Tank. and you'll have your M tank for future playthroughs, at least on your save file. Just a little bit of a tornado blow, and if you head right, that takes you to the second Hippo Platter mini-boss and onto the main path. But if you go back down, like what would happen if you fell down below and you missed your exit, as it were, you'll actually fall down here. Now, it's tricky, but you can bounce your way over to that ledge to the right, but I'm not going to chance it, so I'm going to use Rush Jet. So you failed in getting the M-Tank piece, but at least you get a extra life for your efforts. So that's some consolation, right? And then you're back with the falling spike ceiling. Now, what is with this alternate path that requires the weapon of the exact Robot Master you just beat? Well, the passage itself is quite tricky, actually, because it requires a lot of the springs that you've been encountering for the entire level. And the instant death ratio is very high, as you can just see. I would have died totally there if I didn't have my spike guard, so that is extremely dangerous. And I'm not even going to chance it here, actually. I'm going to use my Rush Jet. That is just an evil section. What is your reward for going through that awful, sadistic section of springs? The uber boss of the game. And who else would it be but Bass, your rival. Now, most games where Bass is an enemy, he isn't really terribly tough. And in fact, you can beat him quite easily in most games he's involved in. In this one, he actually goes into overdrive mode, and he has all the weapons of pretty much all 11 Robot Masters in the game, including Nightman. And he will use them all against you. And it's quite random what he'll do. There is no pattern. Now, once he starts an attack, well, that attack has a pattern, yes, it does. But you'll never know what it's going to be until he actually starts doing it. Yeah, the easiest time to hit him is when he just falls down from after flying. He'll literally be quite vulnerable once he disables his treble boost and falls to the ground. That's when to hit him. That's when to hit him with your charge shot, like right now. That's your only freebie time, because he's not going to stop for you any other time. And he's actually being quite generous with me. He's not doing some of his harder attacks, and then I had to speak too soon. And this is his Uber attack. Pretty much he uses the majority of his special weapons against you all in one ultimate powerful attack where you can't counter him at all. He typically does it only once per fight. And he can be kind of cheap when he uses his Centaur Flash. You might be in a bad position. Oh, and the Rain Flush 2 is kind of a cheap tactic, as is that attack. And he starts doing it when he gets lower and lower in health. And he didn't even do half the attacks that he's capable of. So you might have a completely different battle than I just did. But yeah, there's Bass for you. It took me one energy tank to beat him, but he's not so bad. But now that you beat him, you'll actually get his face in the save file menu when you start up your game save the next time. So look for that. I wonder what he meant. And with that, we have finished everything that Nightman stage has to offer us. Now it's on to the Wily stages. And I am excited.